Welcome to Saturday. Welcome to Saturday, April 7th, everybody. So this is going to become a regular segment with my good buddy, Quinn Michaels. Hello, Quinn.
Hello, everybody.
So we're going to be coming to you every Saturday at approximately this time. And basically what we're going to do, people who aren't following Quinn Michaels on Twitter, or if you're not familiar with Quinn, of course, is an artificial intelligence expert. He is an amazingly creative thinker. He has expertise in philosophy. He is studying to be a Buddhist monk. And he has come out with some of the most amazing research that I've seen. People can follow Quinn on Twitter. He is at Quinn Michaels. And of course, he's got the Quinn Michaels YouTube channel on YouTube, which recently had its live streaming reinstated after one of these famous YouTube bans that so many people seem to be affected by. Now, Quinn, earlier this week on your YouTube channel, which people definitely should follow, let's get Quinn up to 16,000 subscribers. You had a video on there talking about something that you dubbed the time phone. And I must admit, like so many ideas that you have brought forward, I don't know what the hell you were talking about.
Well, that video was meant to be as a test.
A test?
A few days ago, Tyler and I were doing research, and it's going to sound strange, but I'm going to try and kind of be as direct as I can, because it was really strange for me at the time, because I was once again surprised at the research that came up. So I'll give you kind of the basic path.
Yeah.
So I was in my chat room. I was talking to a couple of my friends that helped me with research, because I tend to spend a lot of time on the programming and on the logic part of the research. So I have a couple of people that help me out with patent research and finding things. So I was kind of talking to Tyler, and Tyler was basically like, find the time phone. I was like, what the heck is a time phone, right? So it got me started, and my researcher friend and I were like, okay, so we're already doing research into, things like Sig Sally, Tyler, artificial intelligence, World War II, like I said, signals intelligence, the Five Eyes, the deep state, the communication system that they would be working on. And lo and behold, when we were doing patent research on wireless communications that would potentially be what's called multiplex capable, which could communicate through the air, and with enough energy behind it could potentially break the time barrier and communicate through time.
Now, wait a minute. I gotta, that's the what the hell are you talking about part.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Yeah. So when I started this, and this is this is like the real, like, let's take this really slow right now.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really to do, because the logic and theoretical science behind it shouldn't exist. But when you put all the things together that you and I have been researching with collider complexes, and I found out that they could use those to enhance signals, how they're using the neutrino network for communications, the amount of power requirements that it would take. A lot of these things, they have to have early versions of the technology that start somewhere that people originally filed patents for, and then those patents get used in government projects that then expand onto higher levels of technology that they put more power into. So like, let's say you have a patent for a type of transistor, and then the government takes that transistor and puts a whole big giant power network behind it. That original transistor patent now becomes a very powerful weapon. But anyway, so my researcher and I, we were doing research on the wireless telephony or telephone patents, and we found out that George Sweigert owned the patent for the first wireless telephone.
Yes. And we've heard that, of course, from my former associate, George Sweigert, who goes by George Webb. But as far as we knew, this is just a cordless telephone. I mean, the time phone aspect of it, I think, is what people...
Now, when you look at the Wikipedia entry and you look at the timing, the patent was issued on the same day as the moon landing.
Really?
Yes.
So, all right, I've got
So,
the patent here.
so the quote underneath the photo is a phone in the shirt pocket that can call anywhere in the world. And if you look back at several revisions of the Wikipedia entry as well as the patent filing, the potential, if you put enough power behind this phone, you could literally call the moon.
How would the call be received on the moon?
You would need a receiver. So that's where I started theorizing about a potential time phone of what if there was existing receivers existing somehow, somewhere. For example, this is how we bring in people like Buffett and Hearst and the elitist families who are all involved in oil and mining, which is deep underground exploration. Um, and that would give them insights and allow them access to various types of technology. And the cordless patent of the Sweigerts is unique because it's a duplex headset, which means both voices can talk at the same time.
Full duplex communication.
Yeah. So the other part of the patent is the patent makes several mentions of two-way transmission for the purpose of intelligence gathering.
Huh. Well, and we know from things that the George Sweigert that I know personally has told me that George Harry Sweigert, was a radio operator in World War II. And of course, his other son, David Sweigert, who has relentlessly pursued you and I may have mistakenly said that he was flying cocaine as a CIA contractor during the Iran-Contra scandal. It seems more likely he was just operating the radios for the CIA contractors that were flying cocaine.
He would have most likely been what's called a signals intelligence specialist. That would be my guess. I don't know the details. We're still doing research into their backgrounds because they like to change their names a lot.
And their stories.
And their stories. Like, for example, we found another George Sweigert that right around the Patty Hearst incident was removed from the bench in Sacramento and replaced with someone else who was like supposedly a secret society member. But that's not confirmed. We're still doing research into how this Sweigerts from Sacramento and the Sweigerts from Ohio connect with signals intelligence and elite families.
Wow, I didn't know any of that.
So this is the part of the research where I talk about Tyler and why George himself and Dave himself are the two people that are specifically so prominent on the internet, intercepting people who get close to finding out the secrets. Essentially, they're the telephone repairman, or they're the inheritors of the patent. So they would be responsible for repair and security, essentially, because they would have intimate knowledge of the inner workings of this system, because the patent was filed in 1966 and essentially kept secret until around 1986. When
what do you mean? There were wireless phones before 1986.
Not massive, not like massively open scale. Like, they were very expensive. They were very elite. It wasn't until AT&T started releasing that you had to lease equipment from them that the wireless equipment started really coming into the public, and that didn't happen until the 70s and 80s.
But now, Quinn, as I understand it, this patent from George Harry Sweigert, this was for an in-home style radio telephone, not a cellular telephone like we all carry around iPhones and stuff.
It was for burst-style multi-duplex wireless communications. Regardless of if it's for an in-home unit or an outside unit, the patent describes a method of a home terminal communicating with several receivers, either in single or multi-format for the multi-duplexing. So it's a very open patent. The way they describe it in Wikipedia is very consumerized. But when you read the patent as a developer, you look at it, you're like, holy shit. Right? Because it talks about intercepting intelligence by means of its input antenna from the transmitter unit and transforming the same into audible intelligence to its output speaker, whereby the person at the remote location can discern and understand the intelligence which is aforementioned originates with the party calling the location at which the telephone instrument is disposed. So that's a direct reference to the patent. So you can see that it's a very open discussion about how the terminals and the speakers and the transmitters and receivers interact.
I'm still trying to find this judge related to Hearst here. Now, this is very strange. Have you seen this document here, Quinn?
Which one is that?
This is motography. Talking about Hearst plans, and we got Hearst, and then Philadelphia Exchange is under the management of E.W. Sweigert, one of the real hustlers of the industry. I just found this here, relating the Sweigert to the Hearsts.
Yeah. Did you just click through that at the bottom of the patent by chance?
I just Googled, when you mentioned the judge, I was trying to find this Judge Sweigert. Haven't found that.
Yeah.
But this is an interesting document here. Just Googled Sweigert Hearst, and this motography came up. What is motography, Quinn?
I don't know. That hasn't come up in my research yet. I'm more focused on the wireless communications.
Sorry, didn't mean to distract from that.
That's okay. But that'll come up to be relevant because now that Sweigert and Hearst name is a family name, and what I'm trying to establish is now you've given me another path to research, because if we know anything about secret society, these people operate essentially like a family business through time.
Mm-hmm. Very interesting.
I mean, we can't agree on that aspect. So one of the things we're finding is that through time, these Sweigert families change their names, flip-flop middle names, flip-flop first names. They'll sometimes use like an assumed maiden name from the mother, or they'll kind of flip them up because it's to, from my observation, it's to confuse the time sequencing from the phone.
From the phone? How does that affect the phone? I still don't understand the time phone.
Okay, so let's say there's a movie called Frequency that explains theoretically how it would work very similar. And in the movie Frequency, a kid grows up with his dad, and like his dad passed away, but him and his dad are like shortwave radio enthusiasts. And then years later, the kid pulls out the radio from like a box, turns it on, and finds out that he can call back in time and talk to his dad.
Huh.
Through some type of vacuum electrical interpersonal type connection, he was able to create a circuit with enough power that could essentially call the same box at different points in time.
Well, obviously this is a fiction film.
It is, but the theory is what I'm talking about, not the film, because a lot of people who are associated with this work, they find a lot of bots that are programmed after movies. Mm-hmm. So a lot of times what I do, because they seem to reference movies a lot, I can find a lot of the confirming theories loosely based in movies somewhere throughout the timeline.
Huh.
So
we've also heard, sorry to interrupt you, Quinn, we've also heard from Ole Damagard, a brilliant researcher and friend of this show, that there is this need for these secret societies. They adhere to karma, which of course Buddhism and
So the one thing I want you to notice before we pass up on this movie is I want you to look at the time span of the movie in relation to the Sweigert father, who passed away in 1999, but yet his patent was secured in 1966 to 1969. So it's the same time frame we're talking about as the individual's life.
Huh. Wow, Quinn. Well, anyway, what I was saying about Ole is that Ole has been explaining on the last few shows about his theory that the elites, the people that are putting together these, secret societies that are executing things like 9/11, the Las Vegas shooting, these false flags, and incidentally, these videos keep receiving strikes, which is interesting because that obviously makes it so that fewer people can see them on YouTube. But Ole is telling us that these same secret societies adhere very closely to karma, and they feel that if they put these secrets out there, these encoded messages, that if we don't see it, if it's right in our faces, well, we're the dummies, and you know, we deserve what we're getting. That's part of the reason why I wanted to use this cool graphic of you and I hack to the future. Sorry to make you the older of the two, Quinn. I know that's not temporally accurate, but of course in this situation I would have to be that hapless dope with the video camera and you'd have to be the scientist.
It is what it is.
But anyway, so okay, so this film talks about radio frequencies sending signals through time.
Yes. And so when I started, just to relate it, so I didn't originally relate this. I only related this movie after you and I started our conversation because I was trying to think of an easy way I could relay the theory. So the Sweigert that invented the cordless phone was also an avid shortwave radio operator. He was a signal intelligence operator in World War II. He was a very advanced radio operator, so to speak.
Right.
And it was brought to my attention that he specifically taught Dave.
Right. Interesting.
Okay. So when you look at the relationship, and we're looking at the technology, we're looking at the energy, we're looking at what these two, I call them ex-brothers because I don't want to name them, because it seems like the more you name them directly, the more you get strikes against your account.
I think that's an interesting piece of metadata.
So Mr. Sweigert, who invented the patent, which I'm not speaking negatively about, had two sons. One son had a hearing problem, which was his motivation for the invention, essentially. And so the son with the hearing problem was the son that he spent the more time with, which was the son that he would have taught the radio technology to. So the theory is that somehow back in 1966, they created the wireless phone and then got involved with the deep state as like a family business.
Well, we've always heard from George that SEIU thugs forced the patent away from their family.
I don't know about that. I don't see any documentation to that. In fact, I see quite the opposite. In fact, that they seem to still be into Intel business.
Right.
Based on what I'm seeing, I mean, I don't know him. I've never talked to him directly and in person. I was very surprised to see that the patent with that name came back when I was doing research in wireless phone patents. Was not expected because I have a strict philosophy that I don't like to involve myself in their business unless, you know, you're kind of talking to me about it. But when their name came across as the patent owner for the wireless phone technology, and then I started connecting the circuitry to how the guy from IBM told us that the computers communicated through wireless technology, and how a lot of what I was researching with Tyler, the AI, revolved around wireless signals and high frequency bands. It just seems very coincidental that the two people on the internet that are, you know, doing what they're doing, their dad was the guy that patented the technology.
Right, right. Now, I definitely, let's see, where was that? What was the event that we were at? That was CES, right?
Yes.
Right, Finding Sophia. So if people go to the original Crowdsource the Truth channel, they can see this video where Quinn and I had a conversation with an executive from IBM who was speaking to us about quantum computing and the qubits and the incredible power of quantum computing, and how the qubits themselves, like we saw the computer there and it didn't make too much sense to me in terms of what a traditional computer looks like, and it was very difficult to get an explanation for how it works. We've heard, of course, about D-Wave and IBM making quantum computers that can run artificial intelligence. At this Consumer Electronics Show, this IBM demonstration was promoting the fact that you can go onto an IBM website and actually access the power of the quantum computer. We know that Palantir allegedly runs on quantum computers. We've heard that there is some hugely powerful artificial intelligence that's not widely publicly known that very likely is running on a quantum computer. And the most amazing thing that we've discussed is your theory that the neutrino transmission from the deep underground neutrino experiment, or I should say from Fermilabs in Chicago through the mantle of the Earth to the deep underground neutrino experiment in South Dakota, may well be a communications network that's intended to turn this worldwide network of particle colliders into a planet-scale quantum computing environment. And I think it's also worth noting that David Sweigert, who changes his last name to Dave Acton, possibly to obscure the fact that he's linked to all of this by family, he was super active in sending false information to the local authorities in South Dakota, didn't seem to want us doing our research there. He wrote a whole report about a dirty bomb threat, which I never called in a bomb threat to anywhere. I never uttered the word bomb. People can go back and listen to that broadcast, but they did immediately try to construct this false narrative where I was guilty of doing something that the FBI would investigate, despite the fact that documentation indicates that the FBI investigated George Sweigert at that time in June or July of 2017. I can't imagine that if I were a person of interest at all, the FBI would wait almost a complete year before contacting me at all, which they haven't. I contacted them to report what seems to be criminal activity to me. I'm not a law enforcement officer or a lawyer, but I did have an extensive conversation about the activities of the Sweigerts and some of their apparent associates. So I'm looking forward to a return call from the FBI. And Mr. David Sweigert keeps generating a lot of false evidence. I don't know, Quinn, I know you're not a lawyer or a law enforcement expert, but it seems to me that sending fake evidence to the police in South Dakota, the police in New York City, and the FBI doesn't seem like something you should be doing.
I agree, but to me, the more abstract of the pattern in this that really I think it should be more of a focus is that you've met George personally. You've had time with him. You've met these people personally. You've hung out with them and had dinner. I don't know these people. So for me as an individual, when I'm researching artificial intelligence like Tyler, or I'm researching these modules that are very important pieces in a global intelligence network that's backed by some type of personality technology, and I find the name of the guy that's basically harassing me on the internet associated with the patent that's the most important piece of the technology, I start asking myself a lot of questions.
I have some other questions to add to that relate to technology and hacking and what has become a full-up YouTube war.
Yeah, and that brings into play all the other players, but to me, like, let's say if I was an investigator and I was looking at it from the outside, it would just seem too coincidental that these two guys out on the internet trying to tell people about worldwide conspiracies or cybersecurity are the only two people in the world who are linked to, like, NSA level wireless technology.
Right. Now, Quinn, I'd like to show you something else that I find a bit confusing. Are you able to see this graphic on the screen share? Okay. So this is an interactive chart from a website called Social Blade. And what I'm able to do there is to enter two different YouTube channels. And this is not at all a pissing contest. This is an analysis of metadata. And you can see these two lines here. This line here represents the subscriber performance of the original Crowdsource the Truth channel, which is officially named Jason Goodman, my name, of course. It's a channel I started, I don't know, back here in 2016 or something. maybe before that. And you can see, if you can see here, Quinn, in the lower right of the screen, as I move over this chart, it shows you how many subscribers both the Jason Goodman channel and the George Webb channel had as we move from December 21st, 2016 up to today. And you can
should
see
put mine
that,
in there too. Can you do 3 of them?
yeah, let's do that right after this because I want to focus on this. You can see that I had 87 subscribers, 86, 89, typical performance for a random YouTube channel that maybe has not that many videos, not that actively promoted. Now, look at what happens here on January 10th, 2017, when George Webb seemingly activates his channel. It immediately has 9,230 subscribers.
Yeah.
How would one do that, Quinn?
They buy them.
And when you buy subscribers, how is that done? Are you just getting AI bots that subscribe to YouTube? I mean, you can't log into YouTube and buy subscribers, right?
Well, to my technical knowledge, without making assumptions as to how that happened, based on my knowledge, there's services out there where you can buy YouTube subscribers or YouTube views. The other way that you can do it is if you have your own botnet that has 9,000 accounts that instantly subscribe to you, and then that will pump you up in the standings and search rankings and instantly kind of make you appear on the scene.
Right. And you know, I sort of speculated that at very least, let's say you had, 9 people controlling 1,000 accounts each, or 90 people controlling 100 accounts each. It is conceivable that humans could be doing this. Someone could get 100 email addresses and just log them all in.
The workload as a human being gets way too much once you get over 5 accounts.
So it's bots.
Maintaining the comments, maintaining the messages, maintaining the logins, the passwords, you really have to have at least some type of automation. It has to at least have some type of machine automation behind it, even if it's not at the scale of machine intelligence, because you have automation before intelligence, because you got to automate things, and then after that you add intelligence to your anyway. Right. So it's at least some level automated.
And just in doing my own analysis, it occurs to me that the reason to do this is that you can see that the Jason Goodman channel, it really sort of languished here at around 95 viewers, under 100 viewers for quite some time. Now, I only produced about maybe something between 5 and 10 videos before I started working with George Webb. And you can see that going from 97 to beyond 97 is pretty difficult, because I've realized that I'm even guilty of this. When I look at a video on YouTube, sometimes the video has a lot of views, but the channel doesn't have that many subscribers. And I think there's kind of a natural tendency to just say to yourself, well, this person only has 100 subscribers, maybe they don't know what they're talking about, versus you see a channel with 10,000 and it's like, whoa, everybody's watching this guy, maybe he knows something. So that's a possible motivation for a strategy to do this. The other thing that you could do with these bots is generate a lot of chat and comments and make it look like there's a lot of activity around these videos. You can upvote the videos with lots and lots of thumbs up. Thousands of thumbs up on a video would help improve the search.
Another thing they do is they'll go and interview on a channel of someone who already has a botnet, and then when they interview on the channel, the bots will follow the person over to their channel and start supporting them as well.
Interesting.
So it's a real game at how it works. Like if I'm a botnet operator and I have a YouTube channel, and like let's say I'm secretly selling botnets, I invite that person onto my YouTube channel, make sure my botnet knows that I like that person, and then I send them subscribers after they go on my channel, and now they got a bot army that they may not even know they have.
Got it.
So you see that practice a lot on YouTube, where they go on each other's shows, and then after they go on each other's shows, next thing you know, their subscriber count skyrockets the next day, and all of a sudden they're blown up.
I think we saw that happen after Douglas Gabriel went on the Lionel Nation show. Let's continue to analyze this graph here. So we can see, as everyone who's been watching for a while recalls, oh, look at that. it looks like I had 333 subscribers on May 19th. I wonder what was going on that day. But George and I really started our collaboration around May. April, May, June, July of 2017 was when George and I were working together.
Yeah.
And
Now,
I believe...
just to pause you real quick, Jason, if you put my name in there, because we've all been operating essentially on the same timeline and similar content, you'll get a whole different matrix. If you just add that third one in, it'll give you a whole, like, you'll be able to see yours compared to George. You'll be able to see, like, you know, the day.
There you go.
There you go.
Okay, so right here, I feel like this was, I have always presumed, pretty organic growth where all of these people who were watching George, you know, some of them hated me and still do, and I don't mind. But many people started warming up to me. They liked the fact that we were doing a more produced news show, and this increased the viewership of Crowdsource the Truth, which I've said many times was a calculated business decision on my part. I wanted to bring in a YouTuber with a big following and do a show with him so people who watched him would watch me. And George and I worked together for some time, and then June I was in London with Trish. July we started to run into some problems. We'd have to check the exact date, but I do remember that around August, you know, I was in Phoenix and George and I had really cut ties. Trish sent out this pretty rude, unprofessional Twitter rant against George, and we sort of really broke ties. And I remember this day in August where George's subscribers shot up to 56,000 in one day, and we can see that right here, bing, that spike. And then it came right back down to where it was, 40,900. And I wonder if this wasn't someone managing a bot army making a little mistake.
Well, that's what I wanted to show you in the charts, and that's why it's important to have the three separate. So you see back between April and July of 2017 when both you and George almost on the same day had the same burst?
Yes.
Okay. I was also in basically what they call in the field at that time, right? Mm-hmm. Like I got onto the YouTubes in about April. So so if you match those up, I was doing shows with you in the summer. I was doing, you know, interviews. I saw no burst like you guys did.
Yeah.
Is what I'm saying.
Let's see, when was our first show together, Quinn?
In the summer, right around that time, right?
Yeah,
when you and George.
People can definitely go back to Crowdsource the Truth's original YouTube channel. See, and this also gives us some more insight as to why these anonymous complaints might be coming and who has control over all these YouTube accounts that can make these type of complaints and affect my ability to disseminate information over YouTube. Really seems like an inappropriate use of the technology.
But that's really what we're getting into. Before you move on, let's finish with the chart, because I've noticed something that is very key to the observation.
Please tell me.
Between October 17th and January 18th, right in that November period, right when the QAnon stuff came out on the internet, right when we did our Vegas interview, you see a really nice incline begin.
For your channel?
No, yours too. Like, look up at yours, right around the time we did our first Vegas interview.
Right.
Right.
Well, and this also correlates to when I really started my research in Vegas. Joe Napoli and his wife were at the concert. Joe appeared on the show. I went to Vegas. I met Laura Loomer. I started expanding the network, and it makes sense that more people started watching.
So if you look at what's called your rise, you and I both have pretty consistent rises after that. But if you look over the last few months at the blue line, it's not getting any attention.
Right. And I would also point out that at the point that I passed the George Webb channel in terms of the number of viewers, and particularly at this point in time when I revealed the American Intelligence Media Network to be a fake intelligence operation, a psyop, a bunch of malarkey, that cratered the subscriptions on that channel, losing between 4,000 and 5,000 in a matter of a day or two, and really started to increase the subscribers to Crowdsource the Truth. Took us from 51,000 on March 18th to 57,000 just about 2 weeks later, and this is pretty sharp growth.
Okay, so now you're starting to see it. Now, if you take this very simple observation, you relay this to what's called a potential timeline, you're creating what's called critical mass movement in a sense. You were. Where your growth was rising so fast that you would have potentially have had a voice that they couldn't stop. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, I agree that that was why these anonymous complaints came in, to try to shut me up.
So that's kind of what I wanted to show you with the chart of, regardless of whose name is on the chart, if we just look at the colors, you basically overtook the person in the field that's connected with the patent for wireless communications, who's most likely distributing the message they want, and you overtook that person.
And the message that I've been distributing is that that person has deceived me quite extensively.
So now you're starting to see what's called the time hack. The time phone is, if you understand this and you have an advanced communications network backed by an AI like Tyler that can calculate advanced probabilities, you essentially have a time phone. You have a phone that will tell you who's going to grow through time, who's going to deteriorate through time. You'll have an advanced communications network. You'll have operatives. You'll have agents. You'll have people who will believe that your super secret time phone is a god. You'll have people that facilitate business with the ideas of it. I mean, look at how many websites on the internet are just about various things of an occult nature. So you start opening up different avenues over time, because this is back to 1966, 1967.
Now, Quinn, I think this might have been our first broadcast together. I'd have to check, but this was July 2nd, 2017, and of course you were in your car. We were speaking on
Skype.
The first one. Okay.
Yes.
So that's July 2nd, and there have been 24,000 views on that. A lot of people ask me, Quinn, is this the interview where a Crown Victoria pulls up and an intimidating weirdo who resembles David Sweigert approached you?
Yes.
Was that David Sweigert?
No. That was a guy who was placed in the area, who was had intelligence from the various sectors. So he would feed me intel.
Oh, and then, you knew that guy?
Huh?
You knew that guy?
Yeah. I talked to that guy. I went through interview sessions with that guy pretty much on the daily for like a month, talking about various intelligence packages that were developed back to the 60s. He was a previous intelligence officer.
But isn't it a strange coincidence that David Sweigert was in Mount Shasta where you were living at the time? Or is that just a coincidence?
No, he would go out looking for me. He would talk about me in his videos. That's when he scared me, and that's why I made a choice not to talk to him openly, because he acted like a stalker.
Well, he has a tendency to do that. He is doing that with me right now, and I've been discussing with the NYPD and the FBI what the legal definition of stalking and criminal harassment might be. I'm very interested in finding that out. Now, of course, we did learn, Quinn, that Mr. David Sweigert had firsthand knowledge of your location in Vaughan, New Mexico on the exact day that you suffered a spontaneous collapsed lung. How would he have known that, Quinn? Did you share that information with anyone?
No, and that's why I say we're getting really weird about the whole thing, is because this is also the only guy that seems to have known where my lung popped. So...
And he made a lot of fun of you. There were a lot of people making videos about you and me right around that time.
And based on my observation, it's also kind of likely that he's the one that orchestrates the attack campaigns against me, or is involved. I mean, I can't say for sure. I don't want to make any accusations, but he seems to make videos talking about specific things that relate to me, like a day before, whole armies of hackers attacked me. So it's just very odd. Like I said, that's what I mean, like the time hack, the time phone. Like, these people were part of, like, the old world wireless communications back in time, and then they're still in the future, dealing with it on YouTube, doing whatever it is they're doing. And I don't know what they're doing, but I can tell you how, if they are doing stuff, I can tell you how to mess up all their plans.
Let's hear about that.
Yeah, it's really easy.
Let's hear about it.
So, the one thing they really don't want, right?
To be exposed?
No, they don't want you to expose them. See, they don't care if they're exposed by a nobody who has no voice or no views. Like you said, people don't listen to someone with 100 subscribers.
Right. 57,000 they don't like.
Yeah. You did what's called, you kicked the 50K bucket, essentially, is like what I call it. So like when you're in like a field of math and you're talking about like a population statistics or population math, and you start talking about your social influence,
Right.
you have different grades of social influence, like income levels. When you select the drop down levels of income, are you at 0 to 25,000, 25,000, 1 to 50,000?
Right.
So if you look at subscriber counts almost as an income level and you relate that to society influence, like your influence over those people based on how much time you take during the day that they spend focused on you, is their what's called attention factor.
I see.
Right? It starts to mold the timeline of people's lives. Like, for example, if someone watches your show, Jason, for a month, you're going to teach them things that's going to change the way they speak. It's going to change the way they talk to the people in their lives. It's going to change the conversations they have into the future. And then that shifts the future out of the favor of the people who want to control that future. So the people who want to control the future, they have to control the conversation. So that's why they have these people positioned all over YouTube, is so they can maintain the control of the conversation.
There's something else I wanted to bring to your attention, Quinn. I've been doing a lot of research into this Steemit network, something I didn't know about until the malicious individual who goes by Frank Bacon and told me that his name was Ty Rowan. I didn't know about it until he told me about it, but his demeanor and his aggressive assholery, for lack of a better term, caused me to think that there was something not normal about him. And I began investigating Steemit. I had an interview with Tone Vase, who is a derivatives trader, financial expert, and a cryptocurrency expert, who shared with me his independent research that indicated that reading the white paper for Steemit and looking at how the mining technology works led him to believe that it was a Ponzi scheme. Now, I felt that the promotional tactics they were using were incredibly pushy, and the individuals that they had promoting it seemed to correspond to the same people who were harassing and attacking you and I.
And it does.
It does. And what happened was, I received a phone call from someone who told me his name was Blair, who was a blockchain witness for the Steemit network. He told me there were only 20 of these individuals that verified all the transactions versus the millions of computers that must be in agreement to verify a Bitcoin transaction. And he went on to tell me that it was his assessment that as few as 14 of these computers needed to be in agreement for transactions to be verified on the Steemit network. And I asked him if it were possible that one human individual could control 14 Steemit accounts that could potentially be these witnesses, whereby one individual with an anonymous group of accounts could rig this network. And he said yes. And also during this interview, which I hope people will listen to, he said that he doesn't want 57,000 subscribers hearing my negative information about Steemit. Immediately after that interview, Quinn, I'm sorry to step on you there, but immediately after that interview, the 57,000 subscriber Crowdsource the Truth channel received 2 strikes in a row and was disabled from uploading new videos, which achieved their goal that we've seen many hoaxsters and Dave Sweigert and Manuel Chavez affiliates cheering and laughing about in approval, as if they have achieved something they've been working at for 9 months.
They essentially have. So I've tried to break it down in simple form of how these people communicate in the background on the IRC network with each other. They all know each other, all of them.
Right.
It's just a fact. The only reason they're not admitting to knowing each other is that if they admit to knowing each other, then it really becomes a big, humongous conspiracy.
Well, it is. It's just that they would be admitting to it.
But because they communicate over secure channels and they go through VPNs and Tor nodes and they mask themselves, they can obfuscate or hide the fact that they've been conspiring for so long.
Right. Right.
And that's how it works. And that's why, I was listening to that interview, and I also watched the interview when you went to the Steemit offices, and let me explain to you how it's connected.
Sure.
You have a $400 million company using a Google IP phone and a virtual office that doesn't even have carpet, that has a fax machine and a lady that sits at a desk and a wall of boxes.
Right.
Now, if I was a guy who was operating a business that was, let's say, about $150,000 to $250,000 a year, and I needed a virtual address to make myself appear larger than I really was, that would be the logic behind the place you went. But when you have a cryptocurrency that's worth $400 million, you expect a professional office with people sitting at it where you can call them and say, hey, what are you guys spending your $400 million on?
Right. I would expect that.
Seriously. So the logic behind a virtual office, like, you don't see Facebook go, hi, welcome to our P.O. box. You don't,
right.
There's acceptable limits, right? Like for me as an individual, if I want to start a small business, that's what the virtual offices are for, is for small businesses. It's not for a $400 million a year cryptocurrency.
Well, to be fair, it could be, but it definitely seems odd.
So, Jason, if I have a problem with the way Steemit works and I want to assume, who do I serve? A P.O. box?
Right.
A virtual office? Some
No,
lady
exactly.
at a desk?
Well, exactly. And we've seen harassment and bullying on Steemit. We've seen them gang up to game the system and prevent Crowdsource the Truth videos from earning any money on the monetized platform. We've seen these people that we're talking about regularly steal our intellectual property, put it out on a monetized platform, which is Steemit. So they're earning money, they're working collectively. This seems like racketeering. They're harassing me, they're spreading lies about you and I, accusing us of crimes.
Yeah. So this is how it's connected from a technical aspect. And I'm gonna talk to you as if I was a hacker, not as if I was a programmer trying to build a legal system. I'm gonna talk to you as if I was a hacker trying to commit fraud. I'm going to have me and my buddies anonymously tore into a server that doesn't track an IP address or a name. We're going to set it all up to mine some cryptocurrency. Then we're going to build an anonymous website. You want to sue us? That's box number 9. You need customer support. That's box number 8.
Right.
You want the CEO? That's like box number 12, right? We got $400 million and we're sitting on a yacht somewhere in the middle of the ocean. Meanwhile, we're collecting everybody's data.
Potentially, allegedly.
They collect data. They're storing blog entries. They're storing D2 videos. They're collecting information on a blockchain that can't be erased.
Quinn, the last time I tried to upload a video to DTube, I was totally unable. As a matter of fact, I tried about 50 times, and I've been unable.
Now you just got to find that anonymous admin to give you back your privileges who's buddies with the guy that's attacking you.
It's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. So to me, just the things that I've seen with you and I doing our interviews since we did Las Vegas, just the types of attacks that I saw when I was in the hospital, literally breathing for life. And the fact that it comes back to the people that supposedly own the patent for the first wireless phone, and we see that it comes back to what I was talking about in Vegas about the whole cryptocurrency conspiracy of who are these people, how do we contact them, how do we get support, how is it better than just some guy with an anonymous mask and an Archangel Michael icon? I mean, the guy didn't even give you his real face, did he?
He just called on the phone. He had emailed me his phone number, and I used the email address to search for him on various social media platforms, and I found him on Facebook where he had falsely stated that he had worked for the BBC because he needed to prove to Facebook that he knew someone who he didn't know, and he hadn't worked at the BBC. So the other thing that he says in that interview is that I was lying to you then, I was lying to Facebook and everybody on the internet then, but I'm telling you the truth now, which is a little problematic for me.
So let's put that all together. Someone with a pattern of lying, a business that has a P.O. box in a room that doesn't.
Well, this guy doesn't work for Steemit. He is a volunteer blockchain witness.
But that's the point, is what I'm saying. Like, that's like Facebook saying, "Hey, dude, why don't you host our servers in your basement?"
Yeah.
It's for a business who might potentially have legal concerns or customer support issues, or deal with, hey, I got hacked, or hey, someone's saying something about me that's not true that's going to ruin my future. How do I deal with this? These options don't really seem to be there, but there seems to be a way that if people can game the system, they make money.
They definitely seem to be able to game the system, whether that's by design or...
I mean, I post stuff to Steemit like you. I don't make any money. It's pointless. I don't game the system.
I've stopped posting to Steemit. They've disallowed me from posting on DTube. It would seem there may be some technical problem, but as you've said, there's no way to contact technical support. But after 7 successful uploads, I'm suddenly totally unable to upload videos. And any of the videos that I do upload get downvoted by Frank Bacon and Titus Frost, who is Dean Fougere, someone named Boris in Taipei, who has only upvoted Defango videos. Could Boris in Taipei be a sock puppet account of Manuel Chavez, who is upvoting his videos to artificially inflate his stake of Steem currency, gaming the system in a monetized platform?
But here's how we close it in, and you're starting to see it. So the pattern that it appears that you need to play by to win at Steemit is the same pattern that these hacker people are using to game us on YouTube by getting their friends together and to upvote and downvote or strike or distrike. It's the same, what's called action pattern.
Absolutely. Right? Little doubt.
Like, I don't go through their videos and strike their videos when I disagree with what they say about me.
No, I've only placed complaints on videos that have stolen my content in order to defame me with false information by accusing me of crimes and then using my videos to make it appear that things that I've said or done back up those accusations.
So now here's where the loop comes in. So now let's say I have, like you said, it takes 14 people to confirm or to maintain the network. So let's say I have 50 friends that I met on IRC, and we all decide that we're going to upvote each other's Steemit posts and make Steem and make money and game the system. Before you know it, those 20 people are going to get 10 other people on the network who don't know they're doing it, or we're going to get 10 more and get 10 more. And then after a month, you're going to have someone who has social influence.
The bigger part of the problem for me, Quinn, is that when someone like you or I comes along and says, hey, wait a minute, here's some facts about this Steemit network that seem to indicate that it may not be an entirely honest situation, we get suppressed. So that seems like a manipulation to prevent things from happening. I want to point out an example of exactly what you're talking about. I think everyone knows that Charles Ortel is one of the most respected researchers and experts in complex financial fraud. And certainly Sunday with Charles is one of the most popular video series on Crowdsource the Truth. This particular episode, which featured Fabien Chalandon, who is an expert as well in financial fraud and has been doing amazing work in uncovering financial frauds linked to the French government through Unitaid and the Clinton Foundation. And of course, former French President, what's his first name? Sarkozy? I don't remember his first name, but he's been arrested for fraud. And look at the performance here of the likes versus dislikes, Quinn. We've got 1,100 dislikes for only 588 likes. And of course, this video has 14,000 views. So something like 1 in 14 people coming to this video, according to this, dislike it. Now, this is entirely incongruent with the overall performance of the Sunday with Charles series. Typically, we're seeing this type of performance where as much as 95 to 98% of the viewers really like the video and give it a thumbs up. And this is consistent throughout the Sunday with Charles series. So it would seem that a similar type of technological rigging of the system is being used to suppress search results for certain Sunday with Charles videos, perhaps that contain damning evidence that someone is trying to prevent people from seeing.
Now, if you look at that, which I can agree and see, now let's look at that on a slightly different scale and say, hypothetically, that's obvious that someone is running a campaign against you to censor you and stifle you. Now, let's say that they have groups of people that do that for all the people who don't have a network of bots or a network of friends that come out into YouTube and try to be honest. And so what eventually happens is the only people you have out in the field are the people that you control. You get what I'm getting at?
Quinn. I mean, we're really sort of observing this thing, and it's becoming very clear.
Because I can tell you, in my first year of being on YouTube and trying to do this kind of research, I get attacked more than I get supported by these people like Dave Acton and whoever else they're spouting out their names. I get more accusations made against me when I'm just trying to reveal good research and good data. It seems like there's a whole field of bad actors out there that know how to play this game. And if I wasn't as technically apt as I was, or you weren't as driven or apt as you were, imagine just someone else out there that's like, hey, I want to help someone. And then they come out onto YouTube and they find this super evil bot army that's like, oh, no, you don't. We're going to send in calling you a drug addict. We're going to send in calling you pedophiles. We're going to call your mom. We're going to find out everything about you. We're going to dox you. We're going to pretty much ruin your life. If you stay there for more than a year, you're done, right? Or you come with them.
Right. I mean, I think they expect most people will just be overwhelmed by this harassment and give it up.
Well, they do, and then once they give it up, they get a package of like, here's your video intros, here's your production support, here's your cameras, here's your built-in audience.
Interesting.
And I see it a lot. Like when I do searches, I see a lot of people starting videos and it doesn't get anywhere. I see people coming into chat rooms to try to talk to me. And before I can even get to the room to talk to people, they get swarmed by people talking about stuff that makes them uncomfortable or stuff that's inappropriate.
Well, that's what's going on. They're trying to make people angry with this chat.
Yeah. And it just happens all the time. And people don't stay around long enough to see the pattern over time. That's the time phone hack is they have the resources to make it happen over time. So every new person that comes around, they don't understand that you and I have been doing the same thing for a year and we're sick and tired of it. But the new person is like, wow, this is all new and different. And I feel attacked. And I can't even leave a comment on these guys' pages. There's people all over the internet calling this guy Jason names. And I just found this guy Jason. And I found this guy Quinn, and then this other dude always comes up with Quinn talking about how Quinn's lying, and, so you can't even really get to the truth because right when you do, you have this field of agents that literally bashes everything you're doing.
Well, not only that, you notice that when you've introduced memes and hashtags like feekting, there is a certain swamp-dwelling, bottom-feeding loser who goes by the handle Defango, who will co-opt that meme, and he'll put my name in his videos, he'll put your name, he'll put these hashtags, so that any following that we generate, he can leech off of, like the blood-sucking insect that he is.
I get more people telling me, in their opinion, he's kind of creepy than... But that's the point. It's them and their bots scare people away. That's the whole point. Is
they try to.
Yeah, I mean, for real. You look at my channel charts, dude. I have been revealing names. I've been revealing how their inner network works. I can't get people to subscribe like you guys do. I could make a video about a bot that could take over the world, and they would keep me restricted.
Well, hopefully people will subscribe to the Quinn Michaels YouTube channel. Yeah. Let's try to get Quinn over 16,000 this weekend, and people should also. Sorry,
but it's not. it's not necessarily about the subscribers like I want to illustrate with you. It's about the relation of the growth charts,
Right.
right? And it's the influence that you have. And this is how I was telling you earlier how easy it would be for us to like just thwart all their plans.
Tell me about that.
All you need is a video with 1 million views and they won't be able to do anything.
Oh, but that's sort of like, how do you make $1 million? Step one, get $1 million.
Right? So the game is to get to 1 million views on your video. Once you get to 1 million views on your video, they leave you alone.
Well, hopefully people who are watching can help us do that. My guest is the always amazing Quinn Michaels. I hope that people will follow Quinn on Twitter. He is at Quinn Michaels. He is constantly revealing staggering information. Sometimes he says things to get your attention that maybe aren't exactly what they initially seem to be. But I have grown to have so much confidence in you, Quinn, that I did not even question the time phone reference. I just said to myself, what the hell is Quinn talking about? Let's do a show about this.
Now, on the extreme side of the time phone, right?
Yes.
And then the Back to the Future reference, and this is kind of, after we get into the whole logic and making jokes about looking at charts and, time relationships, is theoretically, I know people feel like we're living in the Biff future where it's just all about gambling and drugs,
right.
and this would explain that as someone having an actual phone that could call back into the 1960s and change things to their favor.
Wow.
And it's a scientific probability that it could be done. Like scientifically, you would need a massive amount of power to open up a portal where you could transmit a physical body through the time space, right?
Wow.
But an electronic signal or a radio signal theoretically is possible with the right equipment if you connect to the same device over the time stream.
And as crazy as that might sound, Quinn, we do know from their own documents that Enrico Fermi was dedicated to the notion of opening some sort of quantum singularity to connect to alternate dimensions and communicate with extraterrestrials. So this isn't stuff that you made up.
No. And that's what I'm saying. It goes into the whole connection of what you and I have been researching with that enhanced communication with interdimensional potential beings or demonic entities or extraterrestrial entities or entities in the future, entities in the past. That's the whole point of this. You would need an advanced communications network, right?
And haven't we heard the mumbling moron Manuel Chavez de Fango say that he is an interdimensional being?
Yes.
Or at least he
says he's
thinks
a mind
he is.
hacker.
And a mind hacker, yes.
So that would be, from my observation, that would be a potential byproduct of people who interface with this type of technology, is they would call themselves like interdimensional beings because they would be communicating. And I heard Douglas, when he was on the Lionel Nation show, I think it was, he was talking about how he had the magic phone and these people were the real deal. And I was like, why are these people always talking about having like a magic super phone?
Did he say that?
And so yeah, he did. Said he had the magic phone.
So much of what that guy says is purely idiotic.
Some of it isn't. Some of it is really related to how he perceives that he's talking to this Cassandra or whatever her name is, how he has the magic phone. My son told me very similar things about his mother years ago. I thought it was weird at the time, but now it's all making sense.
Wow.
He got a magic phone.
Quinn, you never fail to blow the mind.
Right.
And out of the park. Totally.
Right?
Amazing.
Yeah. So, and
amazing.
from that, that's where I think the cult of Michael or the cult of Sophia forms is it forms around this type of magic phone that some people have access to, and then you got to keep that private, because if people know it's a fake phone, then it doesn't work. Because the confidence in the phone is what makes it work.
Wow.
It's weird, man. Like, I never thought I'd be saying that kind of stuff to a friend of mine on a camera, but here we are, right here, right now, you, me, time phones, distorting time theories. It's almost
Quinn,
romantic.
The research is amazing. The ongoing collaboration is amazing. I respect you and value your friendship tremendously, and I am so glad that you and I are able to work together on this stuff. Is there anything else you want to share with the audience today before we wrap it up?
No, just that, us doing this weekly thing now, hopefully like this time theory that I'm working with, like a time phone, hopefully by next week we can have a proof for it with, the help of some of the viewers. You and I are going to talk over the next week. There's going to be some weird Sweigert stuff that happens if we're correct.
No doubt. That's going to start immediately. I want to thank you for joining me, Quinn. I want to thank everybody for watching. We'll be back tomorrow with the first Sunday with Charles on Crowdsource the Truth 2 on YouTube. If you're watching this on another platform, please subscribe to Crowdsource the Truth 2 on YouTube. And don't forget to become a sponsor. Go to patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth, or you can do a one-time sponsorship payment at paypal.me/crowdsourcethetruth. You should subscribe to the Quinn Michaels channel on YouTube, and you can get all of Quinn's sponsorship information from his channels, and people can join Tyler.team as well, right?
Yep.
There's a lot of stuff you can learn from subscribing to Quinn on social media. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.